Hi everyone, my name's Marlon. I am here with my son Jeremy, who's behind the camera, and we're here to show you how to roll one of our favorite Filipino dishes, lumpia. I have a lot of friends on Facebook and Instagram. I show a lot of pictures of my cooking, but they're still pictures. So this is my first attempt at a video and more of a tutorial on how I make lumpia. So there are two schools of thought on the filling for lumpia. The one school likes to pre-cook the filling, the meats and the vegetables, and then roll it in the wrapper. The second school, which I belong to and I'm a believer in, is to keep the filling raw and roll it that way. A couple reasons. It's a lot easier to roll the lumpia when it's raw and not cooked. To keep it tight, get a nice, clean, so to speak, roll. When you actually bite into the lumpia once it's cooked, I think the texture is a lot better when you're biting into some filling that's been originally raw and then cooked in the oil, as opposed to kind of flash fried with a pre-cooked filling. Okay, so first things first, we need to prepare the filler. The filler itself is basically, you got a protein, and you can have multiple proteins, which I like to do. So I use ground pork, and in this case, minced shrimp. But you can also use ground beef, you can use ground chicken, ground turkey. But once you have the protein, then the vegetables that I use are green onions, carrots, and water chestnuts. And then I season it all, and I cheat because I use Montreal steak seasoning. And so the Montreal steak seasoning has a bunch of different spices. It's got salt, including black pepper, red pepper, garlic, onion, sunflower oil, and some extracts of paprika. So using that avoids me getting all of those things out of the spice cabinet and using only one. Okay, so for the vegetables, you just have to chop them up into really small dices. So the carrots, and I cheat there too, I buy carrot matchsticks. So all I have to do then is take the matchsticks out and chop up into fine dices. The green onions, you can just slice very thinly. Use 2 of the scallions. Water chestnuts are usually canned. The cans that I use, you can use about half of that can, but each one of those vegetables is about 1/3 of a cup. So we'll cut up the carrots, the onions, and the water chestnuts, add 1/3 of a cup each into a mixing bowl. So the proteins that I'm using in this version is ground pork and shrimp. So the pork is obviously already ground up, is minced. So you'll just take that, put that into the mixing bowl. The shrimp, you'll have to cut up, obviously. I try to dice it, not really small. You don't need to necessarily crush it, but I've got kind of leave it a little chunky so there's a little texture. But there's a 1/2 cup of each of the proteins. So 1/2 cup of pork, 1/2 cup of the shrimp. And then finally, I'll season it all with the Montreal steak seasoning. Once everything is chopped up, prepared, put everything into a mixing bowl, and using your good old hands, gonna mix it and very well. Don't be afraid to get your hands a little bit dirty, but use your hands in there and make sure it's well combined. Everything is well combined. Then you'll be ready to start filling the wrappers. And once you have everything mixed, it should look something like this. Okay, so let's talk about the wrapper. Lumpia wrapper, you can get it in an Asian market store, Oriental store. We happen to live near a Rose IGA store that has a very good Asian selection of products. It has an entire aisle that's just Oriental food. The wrappers, again, make sure that you're getting spring roll shells that are very, very, very thin. This happens to be the brand that they sell there. This is a 6-inch size, which is a little bit the smaller. They sell 8-inch ones, which is a little bit too much wrapper. You would have gigantic lumpia, which you don't want. This is a wrapper that you use. Putting the filling in and rolling the lumpia, you will need a binder at the end to make sure that the wrapper stays put. And so some people use water, some people use an egg wash. I just get a little tablespoon of flour and add a little bit of water to it and make a nice thick, kind of slurry, pasty type. But that's exactly what I use for the binder. And then in order to make sure that we've kind of got uniform sized lumpia, I use this is really a cookie scooper. The particular sizes, this is a tablespoon, and there's a number that goes with it. I think it's size 60, number 60, but it's a tablespoon. Now, if you do the math, we've got a pound of filling here, which is 16 ounces. And if you're taking a tablespoon of this, each tablespoon is 1/2 an ounce. So that's you should theoretically get 32 scoops out of here. The package is sold with 30 pieces. So you're probably gonna have a little bit of filler left over, but that's okay. But if you'll definitely have enough filling. in order to use an entire package. So it's pretty good ratio of filler to wrappers without wasting anything. Okay, we just talked about the filler, we talked about the wrapper. Now we're ready to roll. As I mentioned, I use a scooper that's the size of a tablespoon, which is a ½ ounce. I'll go into my meat mixture and get exactly a tablespoon, and I'll want to put it on about the bottom third of my wrapper. And you want it with the 2 points, two of the points, one close to you and one pointing away. Not like this, but like this. We're going to put the meat filler about a third of the way from the bottom. We will then pull back the wrapper, and what you want to do is get the filler about the size of a breakfast sausage. For those of us with fat little fingers, maybe about the size of your index finger, and that's about the length of the filling that you want. As tight as you can. As you roll, you're going to roll upwards toward the opposite corner. When you get about halfway, you're going to fold in the sides, each side, and then you'll finish the roll. And again, trying to keep it as tight as possible. And then when you got about an inch left, you're going to take the binder and you're going to just put it at the end and close it up. You'll get a lumpia.
This part is obviously a very tedious process, but I'm still learning how to roll, so I'm just gonna watch and spectate. We've got 5 left.
All right, we're on the last one.
So this is only a tutorial, so we're only rolling one batch, I guess you could say. But if you're rolling for a party or an event or something like that, it's probably best to have a few other people, somebody prepping the filling and then get an assembly line of other people rolling. And
okay, now that we got them all wrapped, let's cook. Okay, I'm getting the colander. Once they're cooked and we take them out of the oil, they'll just drain in here as they cool off. Put paper towel in the colander. Got my tongs, got my handy dandy infrared thermometer. This is going to ensure that the oil temperature stays around 350. Got another 100 degrees. You don't want it too hot because it'll cook the wrapper too quickly before it can cook the filling. So keeping it around 350, kind of low and slow, will ensure that you cook the wrapper at about the same rate as you're cooking the filling. So here we are, we're at actually 350, 355. So we can go ahead and start dropping them in. When you drop them in, make sure that you're pointing and dropping away from you. So in case it splashes, it's gonna splash away from you. We don't want to put a whole lot in here. We don't want to crowd them. As they start to brown, the closer they are to getting done, the lumpia will actually begin to float to the surface. So that's when you know they're almost done. They're submerged in the oil. They're not resting on the bottom. It'll turn a little brown if they're getting on the bottom. So you're gonna want to move these around a little bit. And again, once they start to float to the top of the oil, you know they're just about done. They'll turn a really beautiful brown color, and that's when you can tell it's done. Those are perfect. You can tell these are crunchy. Can you hear that? All right, now that they're cooked, let's eat! Or in Tagalog, kain tayo! Masarap. It's good. Let me taste some of that sauce.
Yeah, switch it up. Try this one.
That's good too.
Both are really good. I don't know. I prefer the sweet one.
That's because you're half white.
Yeah, that's probably why. Makes sense.
That's for Filipino. You like this soy sauce?
I still do like that one. I think it just depends on how I'm feeling that day. If
Yeah.
I'm feeling Filipino or white. I feel like I had this more than that one.
Yeah.
Just because it's readily available and.
Yep. Good stuff. Now you can make it on your own.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming by the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video.
See you next time with a new dish. Maybe some pancit. Yeah.
Maybe some fried rice.
Maybe some fried rice.
Who knows?